Hi ho, we are live once again with another Johnny Torch live broadcast. Boy, this seems familiar. I think we were here just a few hours ago. Johnny Torch live number 77. We had to get This Week in Comic Book Television done. I'm not sure it's coming back next season when we do all these seasons again, but I'm a stickler for bringing a project through to completion, so we are going to finish up the seasons on CW shows Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Gotham. No promises on weekly broadcasts to chronicle the rest of Legion, Cloak and Dagger, which is going to be out, I think, in a few weeks. But I am going to finish this project because it was an interesting experience here trying to do shows week to week. But it's a difficult endeavor when I don't get very many views. So no promises the show is going to be back in the same format next season, but I enjoyed talking about these shows, and I'll still continue to enjoy watching them. It was just too difficult to try to do season reviews, like encapsulating a full season, which is what I did the last two seasons. But I don't know. I think that this is probably the way to do it. We probably should just go back to that, to just encapsulating the whole season in one review at the end of the year. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Pardon me, as I ingest a little of the old H2O. So yeah, if you were here at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, we did a Torch News Roundup, which I'm sure was thrilling and adventure and excitement-packed. So check that out if you haven't yet. And you'll get all the lowdown about all the other projects and things that I'm doing in that video, so I won't waste any of your time. I did want to mention, though, that we did the video early because I wanted to see the Kentucky Derby, and congratulations to Justify for winning the 144th Kentucky Derby this year. I had good magic, and he came in second, so congratulations to him. He was like a 9-1 favorite, but most people had it on Justify to win. And it was a good race. It was a very rainy race with a lot of mud on the track, and it was an entertaining race. So let me know what you think about the Kentucky Derby in the comments below. We've got the chat room open here, which, as usual, the show would go a lot better at doing the episodes of the week if I ever got anybody in the chat room that actually talked about the episodes of the week. We got a couple of spammers the past 2 weeks, but really haven't got anybody in here to really talk about the show, ask questions, give me super chats. You're welcome to do that if you're watching. We do a show, if you're not familiar with it, we do a show every Saturday, generally speaking around 6, 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Tonight we're doing a late show because we did an early show to pick up the slack for Torch News Roundup. Torch News Roundup is usually done on a Wednesday around the same time, 5 or 6 o'clock. So stay tuned Eastern Standard Time for those broadcasts, and I'll try to continue to keep that level of 2 shows a week up. Sometimes we throw in the odd Monday show if I have a little time for a special broadcast. But anyway, let us move on now to the shows. I've wasted enough of your time. This is what you're here for, to talk about the shows, or at least to hear me talk about the shows, because I don't get too many comments. But let's start with just kind of an up and down week. Last week was all pretty good, pretty solid episodes. Week before that were all pretty weak episodes. I would say they ranged from very strong to very weak. We'll start with Legion, which was my absolute least favorite of the week. And I said last week that it was the best episode of Legion this season, and for a while. But sadly, that is not the case here. They really fell from grace. Last week was very interesting with the story of Sid and her past, and David trying to find out about her past and trying to free her from the mental realm where she was. In this episode, we have pretty much Lenny's story, which honestly, Lenny is one of my least favorite characters in all television. So the fact that the story basically revolved around her for the full hour didn't really do it for me to begin with. A lot of people like, what's her name? Aubrey Plaza. And, when they have something, written well for her, she does good, but this just really wasn't to my liking. Basically, David only shows up like in the last quarter of the episode. It's basically her, and the only other two recurring cast members that are in the episode is Oliver, who we have a picture of here, and Farouk. And we also get the Mickey Melt-face guy, that's what I call him. I don't know. He interrogates her at the beginning of the episode. She wants to see David, but no dice. Meanwhile, Farouk is traveling with Oliver, and they go to find the body, which, of course, is not even really a swerve. We all pretty much knew it was Lenny's body they were looking for. When they find it, you can tell it's a woman that's not really anything that looks like Farouk. Paul interrogates Lenny. They have some flashbacks to her childhood. I don't know. There's some kind of submarine. I don't know. Lenny and Farouk are following a submarine. I don't know. The best part of the whole episode was Oliver telling Farouk he was going to kill him. And Farouk basically taking it in stride. Yeah, it's just pretty much an eventless hour. Nothing really of any importance happens until the old, bait and switch at the end of the episode, which, was it worth it? I don't know, but it was a decent plot twist. David shows up at the end of the episode and tries to find out what Lenny knows. Apparently, it's not much. We find out that David's sister, which this is, interesting because I was just thinking about what happened to that character last season. I don't remember seeing, some fate of her befallen her, but we do find out what her fate was here. They managed to, I guess Farouk manages to put her, Lenny's soul into David's sister's body, thereby changing David's sister into Lenny, which makes her look like Lenny, except with blue eyes. And understandably, David freaks out when he finds out. Okay, I'm going to give one of my very rare one-point reviews because this one really was very boring to me. Like I said, there was like maybe 2 scenes that were enough to keep my attention. That is not the sign of a great episode. I'm going to give Legion this week 1 star out of 5. That's 1 star out of 5. And hopefully they pick up the pace next week because I've got too many things to watch as it is, and if I'm going to drop anything, it's going to be Legion. So they better get on board fast with what they're trying to do this season because it feels very much like they're spinning their wheels. I don't know really what it is that they're trying to get to here. I mean, we've had the chattering people, and then we've had the guy with the wicker basket on his head, and the women with the mustaches, and I don't know. We kind of returned to some kind of semblance of, I don't know, interesting developments when it came to Sid, and I don't know, the Melody Oliver stuff has been really to the background. They've tried to do some amusing things with the Bill Irwin's character, what's his name, Carrie, and his doppelganger or whatever that is attached to him. But again, this is not working out. Or as I said on Twitter, say something, I'm giving up on you. So there we have it for Legion. All right, that took us about 4 minutes. Let's see where we go from here. All right, next up we have Krypton. This week in Krypton, which Krypton had sort of a slow start, but they have greatly improved over the past 2 or 3 episodes. So Jaina escaped the Voice of Rao's terror. He tentacled a bunch of people, including I think that was his name. They name drop Argo City, which was cool. It seems like this show really knows its stuff. They do their homework, and they know all the jeweled mountains and the Argo cities and Candor and all that. All right, so Papa Vex there, he goes to the voice of Raoul, and the voice of Raoul knows he's lying. The voice of Raoul is now an agent of Brainiac. I don't know if he's supposed to be Brainiac incarnate, or if he is just an agent of Brainiac, but something's up with him. Vex pledges to serve him and tells him to spill on who helped him. And he names Nyssa, which is, I didn't know that he was really that low. But the voice of Raoul says they have to die, including Nyssa. Meanwhile, General Zod is still injured, and they bring him to Chem's, where everybody knows your name. Chem's bar. Meanwhile, Adam is in the fortress getting drunk in front of Val, and he wants to hightail it back to Earth. He doesn't have a nickname. He's a D-lister. And he wants to go back and send somebody else in his place. Apparently, he was trying to do this by himself because he wanted to appeal to the Justice League. And he wanted the JL to put some speck on his name, homie. But it didn't really work out too well for him because he's still having dire problems here trying to get Sega on his side. Meanwhile, Vex puts Nyssa under house arrest. He goes to kill her, but she heaped tough cookie, and she surprises him. And she pretty much has no compulsion to try to kill him, but Seg makes his way to the place, and they use him to try to get past the guards, but he makes a break for it. They use the guards' clothing to disguise themselves. Meanwhile, Lyta meets up with Dem. He confirms that Jaina was in on it, so she understands. Lyta ends up getting close to him. They go after Jaina to try to find her. Dem is capped by Brainy, so he was actually a sort of double agent. Jaina tries to kill Dem, but he overpowers her, and Lyta blasts his arm off, disarming him quite literally. I don't know if that's the last we're going to see of Dem, especially seeing as how, like I said, she needs to have a father for the general. Meanwhile, Jaina comes clean that she betrayed her principles for Lyta. She takes her to see the general. Jaina questions Zod, and I thought this was very interesting. Jaina questions Zod about his father, and Zod says he never knew him. But it's hard to tell if he's telling the truth. That he was a soldier or something during this, period of uprising in Krypton. Meanwhile, Nyssa thanks to Seg, and Lyta and Zod and Jaina save them. Seg wants to expose the voice of Raoul and rally the people. The voice of Raoul spares Vex. Meanwhile, back in the fortress, Val, I think that's sort of a purposeful slip. Val asks Adam why he wanted to impress the Justice League and everything. Adam says that he wants to kill Zod and prevent Seg from saving Kandor, because he knows that the future has to play out the way that it did. The voice of Raoul does his public ceremony thingy, and Seg and the team want to assassinate him, but he walks into the fire and is transformed. So, again, the pot continues to boil, the stakes starting to rise here. I believe this is the 8th episode, which means we have about 2 more episodes left. And like I said, it's been fun. It's been a fun ride for Krypton. I would like to see a second season of this. I think that they could probably facilitate that. It's a nice, compact story where they're not really trying to reach out too far and, sort of run the well dry, so to speak. So I'm going to give this week's Krypton, I'm going to give it 4.5 stars out of 5. Yeah, it's 4.5 stars out of 5 for Krypton. All right, so next up we have The People versus Oliver Queen, or The State versus Oliver Queen. Actually, the episode's called something strange, like docket number 11 something 41. I think that's supposed to be sort of an Easter egg for the first publication date of Green Arrow, because he does go back quite a ways. A lot of people don't realize that he really goes back to the 40s, when a lot of these heroes go back to, like, say, the 60s or something. All right, so the show starts off with Diggle in combat. He rescues some dude from the, where is it? Kestistan or something weird like that. I don't know where it is. But the dude turns out to be the human target, which of course, you know, I didn't recognize him at the beginning of the show, and probably most people didn't. So, you know, it kind of blows it if you know. So all these on trial. I honestly don't know why they keep doing these trial stories when the CW are just not good at them. Honestly, don't understand it. They already tried doing this with the Flash earlier this season. You know, Barry Allen on trial, and to be honest with you, it's just not interesting, nor is it logical. Renee wants to testify to try to get Ollie out of trouble because he was the reason why he was in trouble to begin with. General Hale was the prosecutor. I thought that was a pretty interesting development because we see her every week on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Ruby's mom, but here she is as the district attorney or someone from the DA's office. I don't know. They got the doctor there on the stand, the only one that sort of knows something about Green Arrow. John takes a stand, Dinah takes a stand, Dinah takes a fifth. I didn't understand that either. What, did she kill somebody and she had to take the fifth? I don't know how that works. Diaz wants Black Siren to testify against Ollie, and he chokes her into submission, or at least what he thinks is submission. Renee takes a stand, and Diaz brings Renee's daughter to the courthouse. Now, sort of like in shades of The Godfather Part 2. But this is like the most ridiculous thing of all, because can you honestly threaten a child in a courtroom? I mean, I'm pretty sure that all you have to do is say from the stand, that dude's got a knife to my daughter's throat, and I'm pretty sure that somebody will step in and intervene and protect her. But he rats on Oliver and, you know, builds up the case for Diaz's crooked judge. Diggle and Dinah take on Diaz. The cops separate them. It's just that he's so powerful with the police in his pocket and this and that. Oliver finally admits to his lawyer that he's the Green Arrow, but her plan then is to have him fess up. And he is unwilling to because he knows that that will put William and Felicity in jeopardy. Felicity takes the stand, and she's clearly competent and so forth about things, and I don't know, they try to prove that she's a good character witness, I guess. Oliver then takes the stand. He clears Roy of being the Hood, and he also points out that the Hood and Green Arrow are one and the same, which I don't know if that really helps. Does that help you? Because if it is determined that you are the Green Arrow, then consequently you are the Hood, and the Hood is a murderer, murdering vigilante, although, to be honest with you, Green Arrow hasn't been the most lily white, hands clean superhero on the show. He's put down probably more bodies in any given season than any other hero has in any of their respective shows or movies. All right, so the Green Arrow does make the scene to vindicate Oliver as not being the Arrow, and it turns out to be Tommy. Tommy! There he is, right there in costume. He looks great. It's nice to see him in the Green Arrow costume. I still would love to see Colin Donnell, you know, as a regular on this show. And there's so many different ways they try to, you know, throw him in there. I mean, they could have made him like a different Earth, you know, doppelganger of Green Arrow. They could make him, he's such a good actor, too. They could make him an enemy, like he was Prometheus on Earth X. It's just, you know, it's a shame that he actually has a successful show. Because I'm sure they'd find something else for him at this point, because they did in the first couple of seasons, because let's face it, you know, they didn't have the Earths all lined up and stuff until they got the Flash to do that, but yeah, now at this point, it would really be easy. All right, so, you know, come to find out, of course, that's who Diggle rescued, and Diggle and Renee get him out of police lockup because, of course, he gets arrested for being the Green Arrow. Turns out he's Christopher Chance, as I said before. Black Siren takes the stand, and she backs Ollie's alibi here that Tommy Merlin is the Green Arrow. And, of course, because he's, you know, presumed dead, now everybody thinks that he's alive, just like everybody presumed Laurel dead. Now the Earth 2 Laurel is taking her place. Ollie is still found guilty, but the judge declares Ollie free. I must have missed the legal psychobabble or whatever, that freedom, but for whatever reason, there was legal grounds that he could, you know, turn down the jury's decision. And it turns out that the judge, of course, was replaced by Christopher Chance as well. And that doesn't go so well for the judge when he goes in front of Diaz to try to explain what happened. He gets iced. Renee and Oliver finally make up, which is like a long time coming, but I still feel like it's too little too late. They're going to write Renee off the show. He was one of my favorite characters at one point. Now it's just terrible that, you know, they've made him fall so far from grace. So at the end of the episode, Black Siren goes after Diaz. He nullifies her cry with his, I don't know, nullifying device and takes her captive. And we'll have to see what happens from there. But this was a pretty entertaining episode, although, like I said, it feels like they're basically pulling out all the comic book gimmicks like they did with The Flash. Like Ralph became Devoe. Does that really hold up very well? In the same way here. Now, you know, Chance plays Tommy, but then again, you know, Tommy's really dead. Is there a way for them to find that out? I mean, it's not the most ironclad alibi. You know, all they have to do is look up Tommy's remains. You know what I mean? And of course, they probably wouldn't do that, but if they had to, would have got court order or something. I don't know. But you know, I just hope finally, we just put this whole storyline to rest. Of is Oliver the Hood, the Arrow, the Green Arrow. We've done that, it feels like, about 5 times. And this season has been one long stretch of trying to get Oliver on being the Green Arrow. And honestly, if you look at the villain plots from Arrow through the years, Season 1, Malcolm, The Undertaking. Season 2, Slade Wilson, Mercuru Soldiers. Season 3, Ra's al Ghul, League of Assassins. Season 4, Damien Dark, Black Magic. Season 5, Prometheus, intricate revenge plot. Then Season 6, Ricardo Diaz, the U.S. justice system. That's what his mad plan is. That's how he's going to get rid of the Arrow. So I'm going to give this one, I would probably give it 3.5 stars, but I'm going to give it an extra half a point for Colin Donnell because it's always fun seeing him again. So, and I also like the fact that they brought, you know, Renee back to make peace with Oliver or whatever, because that was such a pretty stupid schism between them two or whatever. But anyhow, I'm going to give Arrow 4 stars out of 5 this week. That's 4 stars out of 5. All right, so next up we have, let's take a look at The Flash. The Devoes go down memory lane on The Flash this week. This has been a pretty interesting, because they're focusing now on the Devoes, and it's honestly the most interesting, you know, part of the season. The season really hasn't been all that great in and of itself, but I do like the way that the Devoes, you know, just seeing them, it sort of reminds me of, in a different way, it reminds me of Arrow Season 4, where the storyline was pretty whack, but you still had Damien Dark, who was a riot. He's a hoot, and I'm glad that he made his way to Legends of Tomorrow because he's much better over there. But I mean, he was a saving grace of that season. It was a pretty poor season. And here, it's the same thing here, where the storylines have been pretty crap, but sort of seeing how Marie's Mrs. Devoe has been playing sort of touch and go with trying to get away from Devoe, the Thinker. It's been pretty entertaining in that respect, but it's just, I don't know if it's really enough to really warrant this being a successful season. I don't know. It hasn't been as bad, I think, as a lot of people have complained about, but it's still really not. I don't know. I would even say maybe last season was better than this. But anyway, so we get pretty much a walk down memory lane here. We get the Devoes, how they met, which was interesting. I thought this was pretty cool. They met at a debate club in Oxford or something. Meanwhile, Vod is still not answering Gypsy and he has the job offered him by Breacher, who's retiring. Breacher, of course, being Gypsy's father. Meanwhile, they test Caitlin, and Vibe tries to blast her, which I don't know. That's going to help bring Killer Frost back. Anyhow, eventually, I don't want to get into that rant again. I'm too tired. But obviously, why does Caitlin want to be Killer Frost again? She's apparently going to become desperate to be Killer Frost before the season's over. Mark my words. But anyhow, Harry's slipping up mentally. He finally owns up to the team because obviously, it's obvious something's happening to him. Devoes and his wife steal stuff. I don't know what it is. It's some kind of matter thingy or something. I don't know. Devoes threatens to shoot the guy, but Maurice tries to talk him down to it. Cisco and Barry investigate with Joe. They want him to vibe the murder weapon, but he's reluctant, so they get Gypsy to help, and they vibe to a shipping container where they go to try to stop him from stealing whatever he wanted, but he vibes Flash away with his own kind of vibe powers, whatever that is, and Cisco and Gypsy fail. Barry finds out now about Cisco's job and how he was offered it. Then we return to the flashback. We'll finish the flashback story right here. So the flashback have the Devoes as a happy couple until Maurice finds his radical manifesto. He had a crazed plan in place to get rid of all manner of technology. Apparently, this doesn't sit well with her, and they break up. She goes to be a scientist or something in Kenya. He calls her to reconnect over in Kenya. I have to see that long distance bill. She ends up agreeing with Devoes about technology over the situation that she's in, where I don't know, guerrilla warfare goes on because of technology. I can't tell you exactly what happened, but anyhow, she ends up joining him, and they get married, and she's on the same page with him. Meanwhile, Joe has Harry do something for him, and he sends Cecile over, and her mind reading powers somehow are going to help him. I think that's the reason why she has the mind reading powers, because in some way her mind reading powers help him to figure out whatever it is that he can't quite articulate. Meanwhile, Barry tries to mend fences with Vibe and Gypsy. I think it's something that like the '90s Barry would have done. It seemed very funny, and they vibe together again. Cisco doesn't want the job, pretty much, which he kind of felt pressured into taking it because he doesn't want things to change. He wants to stay at Star Labs. And Gypsy doesn't really want him to take the job, it seems, and it looks like they're going to break up. Flash blasts Devoes, but he's too powerful. Meanwhile, Devoes freezes everyone, and he almost kills Gypsy, but Maurice challenges him again to not be completely devoid of humanity. Caitlin still wants to bring Frost back. She tries to tempt Devoes into blasting her again or something to get her powers. But Devoes still gets away with the generators. Apparently, Vibe and Gypsy do break up in a very tearful farewell. I still don't think that's over with. We're probably going to go back to that at some point because, I mean, there really was no impetus for the breakup other than he just doesn't want to take the job and he wants her to sort of move to Earth Prime, but then again, he doesn't want her to give up her job or whatever. So Caitlin again is determined to get Frost at the baby shower. She's like telling Iris, wow, we didn't even mention Iris. Is this the least we've seen of Iris? I don't know. She's still giving orders. Anyhow, the mechanic finally frees herself of Devoes' control. Obviously, she's not under his mind control anymore. She wants to leave him. She takes the hover chair and puts a shield around her so he can't stop her. But, the gimmick that's been going on back and forth where he says to her he's nothing without her, and now she basically throws it back in his face that he's nothing without her, and she is going to leave. And finally, we get the end there with the neurotic girl. She gives Joe and Cecile a gift, and apparently she's a speedster. So again, I don't know a whole lot about the Flash comics, especially in the recent years. I mean, I got Bronze Age stuff, I got some Silver Age stuff, but I don't really know too much about who this character is. Apparently, one would think it's Barry and Iris's daughter, although some people say maybe it's Joe and Cecile's daughter. Some even suggested it's Devoes' daughter, the Devoes. I don't think so, but anyway, this was again, this was sort of, you know, a serviceable episode. I'll give this one 4 stars out of 5. Yeah, I'll give this one 4 stars out of 5. Alrighty, so The Flash gets 4 stars out of 5 this week. Except we have, well, we were doing pretty good for a while there. I think we're going to go over time again. We tried to do an hour show, but we got to take our time with these things. All right, Supergirl. We got a lot of shows to cover. Wow, we still got like 6 shows going on. All right, so we're on Supergirl, and we got some of that. We got some of that bromance action going on here, like you can see from the picture. Oh, it was a nice scene. You know, that honestly, Makad Brooks there, is that his name? He acted the heck out of that scene. He really did a good job. And this is, you know, well, we'll get to it in a second, I guess. But this is, I guess, we pretty much knew Wynn wasn't going to die, but this was pretty much Wynn on his deathbed telling, you know, Jimmy that, or James, if you prefer, that, you know, he feels like, you know, he's being cheated out of life and he's going to die young. And James trying to console him. It was a nice scene, you know, kind of heavy pathos, you know, pathos. So Saturn Girl wants to kill Pestilence. That's pretty much where we start. And Supergirl won't have it. And they're pretty much butting heads through the whole episode. You get the beautiful blonde in one corner. You get the beautiful black-haired, raven-haired beauty in the other. Who is going to come out on top? We don't know. The name of the show is Supergirl, so apparently the blonde beauty is going to come out on top. Meanwhile, Brainy is disguised. I don't know if that's something he did in the comics. Probably. I don't know. Again, I get confused. I think Nightcrawler did it, but was that what I'm thinking of? I don't know. He looked even more like Johnny Depp now that he's normal looking. Anyway, Lena is still working on Sam, and she wants to shock her, sort of Incredible Hulk style. If you ever seen the Death of the Incredible Hulk, where they basically have to charge him with 50,000 volts of electricity to bring the Hulk out of him. And so she keeps trying to do this to Samantha, and she keeps plunging Samantha into this, I don't know, weird realm, the shadow realm, where she keeps confronting Rain, her personality of Rain. So she keeps telling Lena about these developments, and Lena continues to up the voltage. Meanwhile, there's an epidemic because of Pestilence. That's her name. The team check out the sick people. Saturn Girl, she looks cute in her costume. I gotta say, I wish it was a little more comic accurate, but we don't really see her in costume all that often. She makes a force field around the sick folk, but Supergirl makes her take it down. Mon-El sort of has a heart-to-heart with Saturn Girl and wants to get her to see Kara's side and to make her emulate Kara's peaceful approach, where death is not the first priority. They try to find out who Pestilence is. Their suspect is found dead. Saturn Girl's already on the scene, which causes them to butt heads some more. As I said before, Wynn gets the disease, and we have a heartfelt scene here where they try to synthesize a cure, but it doesn't work. Saturn Girl does say that she doesn't want to kill Pestilence, but she says that Kara tries to save Pestilence with words in the future, and it doesn't work, and that's why they need to kill her now. And later on, we find out, I think, that she has a sister that died from Pestilence, and so that makes her all the more determined. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Rain tries to tempt Sam and get her to voluntarily give up her humanity. She comes out of it, but is unwilling to continue until, of course, Lena presses on and makes her go back again. And this time, Rain threatens Ruby. And she comes out of it again, and Lena promises she'll cure Sam. But she seems to be overpromising because she doesn't seem to have gotten anywhere with this kind of mad scientist routine. And I have a feeling it's going to cause one or the other of them to heel turn. Because, I don't know, I mean, either she's going to go bad because she couldn't help Sam, or maybe Sam is just going to go bad and it's going to reinforce that Lena is good. But we kind of we're kind of seeing the seeds of like a heel turn all along with her. I don't know. Meanwhile, Alex falls ill as well. I know who had the more impassioned "I don't want to die" speech. Was it Spider-Man in Infinity War, or was it Win on Supergirl? That's an interesting poll I should do. That's an interesting poll I should do. I think I'll do that. Meanwhile, Kara finds out who Pestilence is. She thinks she can get through to her, so she and mon-el attempt to reach her, but Brainiac 5 tells Saturn Girl, so she's in on it too. Again, they're teaming mon-el with Supergirl a lot here. I guess they want us to forget the palpable chemistry that they supposedly have. Which they do. I think they're a couple in real life, which probably has something to do with it. But all right, so Kara tries to talk Pestilence down. It doesn't work, and a fight ensues. Now, this Pestilence really physically looked to me like Lady Deathstrike from X2, the lovely Kelly Hu was actually a villain in the Arrowverse. She was playing China White for a long time. Although I don't think she was killed off, but we haven't seen her in about 2 seasons at least. I think the last time we saw her was in season 3 of Arrow, so maybe it's 3 seasons. But she looks like Lady Deathstrike, but she has the gimmick of Nuclear Man. Really, they gave her the long. She has one long nail, which I don't know, one long nail it seemed like. But so she scratches Kara. I think they could have made more of that, seeing as how they were doing a direct reference to the Reeve Superman films. But basically, Saturn Girl blasts her with something to get her DNA so they can make a cure. So ultimately, Supergirl's cured, Alex is cured, and so is Win. But so Purity shows up and takes Pestilence away, which that's kind of a strange name for a supervillain, Purity. I mean, obviously they're going to try to do the Supergirl thing, which is to talk these people back into being good. But I don't know, she has like canary cry powers, which is also very strange. All right, so yeah, that was pretty much it. Let's see. Saturn Girl tells her about her sister. Supergirl goes off to save Lena and finds out about Sam, but Pestilence and Purity come and take Sam away, and Sam is fully transformed into Rain. We're getting into the final stretch here, and yeah, this was a pretty good episode. We finally get to see Supergirl punch someone. I mean, we had a little bit of a skirmish with Pestilence. I don't suppose this would be something to write home to mom about, but anyway, it's good to see a little action taking place in the show between Supergirl and a villain. I like to see a real SmackDown. We haven't seen one since Rain around Christmas. All right, so I'm going to give this one 4 stars out of 5 too. I think it was pretty decent. So 4 stars out of 5 for Supergirl this week. It feels like they're ramping up to something big at least. All right, let's see. We got Gotham here. And I sure hope I got some good notes here because I started falling asleep near the end of this. That's not an indictment on the episode. It was just late and I was just tired, so I don't know why I couldn't. I would like to, maybe go back and see the last half hour of this one again. All right, so this was pretty cool. We got sort of like a Batman Beyond version of the Jokers in this one, I think, is kind of what they were going for. These punks, they meet on Jerome's grave, and it cracks me up. The tombstone says, "Second time's the charm," because, apparently he'd already been dead, as we all know. But the second time is the charm, and yeah, as much as they kind of want to try to hint otherwise, Jerome is dead. His mute Harley character here, I don't remember what her name is, and she's not officially called Harley, but they sort of dressed her up like Harley. She gives like this, I don't know, tape recording of Jerome telling the Jokers to dig him up. So meanwhile, we got Jim interrogating Lee because she was arrested at the end of the last episode because she took the fall for the Riddler. Harv's sister just let her go because she, isn't any less guilty than they are. And Jim is just as tired of hearing that line as I am, so he starts yelling at him. But he basically confronts Lee and tells her to throw Ed under the bus. Jerome leaves a posthumous video, which they showed this early on Twitter, which I've seen some of it, and I think even the actor Monahan, Dominique Monahan, is that his name? He was saying that it pretty much spoiled the show. It didn't spoil the show for me. I pretty much was still surprised by the twists and turns of it. The Riddler plans to save Lee. The freaks use Jerome's coffin to break into the GCPD HQ. Meanwhile, Jeremiah shows Bruce his power thingy that you can see in the back there, which is supposed to be some great source of power, something that will run people's homes, one of those deals. He seems normal, and he shows Bruce Jerome's warped journal. Jerome wigs out when he hears that Jeremiah wigs out when Jerome hears that Jerome's. See, this is why I missed it all, because I was tired. But he finds out that Jerome's followers are still cascading throughout the city, and he freaks out. Now, he admits to Bruce at this point that he was sprayed by the Smilex gas. Bruce wants him to see proof of Jerome's death, so he takes him to the cemetery, which I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to dig him up or something? I don't know. The freaks break in to the police department. Lee gets knocked cold. Jim is cornered and saved by Harv with the cattle prods. Alfred is in a skirmish and gets carried off. I don't remember what happens to him. That's an interesting thing. I've seen that. Bruce takes Jerry to the grave, but Jerome is gone. Jerry freaks out. He thinks Bruce is Jerome in disguise. Meanwhile, Butch is becoming impatient with Oswald. Riddler and Penguin both go to the prison, and it was a funny scene where they break into this van, and the criminal says, oh, the Riddler's come to save us, and then he just closes the door on him, and then the Penguin comes in, the Penguin came to save us, and then the same thing happens. He just closes the door. So Ed sneaks in a clown costume, a very cheap clown costume. Lee knocks him out. Eventually, they both escape. Jim goes looking for Bruce. Harley takes on Jim, as we see in this picture here. Jerry and Bruce find Jerome's body. They struggle when the punks come. Jerome then reveals his white face. He's had makeup on the same way Jack Nicholson did. And apparently Jeremiah wants to prove that he's better than Jerome by using Jerome's methods, but in a more sane way. This is kind of the reason why I titled this video Jeremiah, a pale imitation of Jerome, because as much as that's, a play on words, a pale imitation, but still, it's strange because they make him way too calm and committed. It's like the Joker is supposed to be insane, and this guy shows no traits of insanity. He looks sort of like he's doing a Jesse Eisenberg version of Luthor. You kind of get this is sort of like a Jesse Eisenberg version of Joker. I just like the Jerome version better. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to get to with this at some point, but they haven't got there yet. Whatever it is, he doesn't act like the Joker. All right. So anyhow, Jim is locked in with a bomb, and it goes off. Jeremiah knocks out Bruce and dumps him with Jerome in the grave. Penguin and Butch interrogate the Jerome Joker's ringleader. Lee and the Riddler escape as Harvey floods the place with knockout gas. And yeah, that's about the size of it. I would say this was, it's a serviceable episode. It wasn't that bad. I'm going to give this one 3.5 stars out of 5. That's 3.5 stars out of 5 for Gotham this week. And finally, we shall wrap it all up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Here we go. So, as I said before, they apparently are turning Talbot into Gravitron, the Avengers villain. And as I said before, I'm disappointed in that only because I'm such a big Hulk fan, and I wanted to see Talbot being used correctly in a Hulk movie, which we all know is not going to happen. So, what are you going to do? So they're finally paying off that Gravitron storyline from the first season. Remember that guy fell into the gravitonium or whatever. So, and Quinn apparently got fed into that too, even though I don't know that they ever really showed what happened to him. I think they just showed it this season with Flowers there, Ruth Nega. So anyhow, Talbot and Coulson invade the Remorak ship, Melmac ship, no, the Remorak ship, because that's where we left off last week. They talked to the top dog guide there, and Talbot uses his powers to dominate the whole ship, making them all kneel before him. It's pretty funny to see, Phil's reaction to all this. Mac encounters a juiced-up alien. May stops Mac from killing him because they need to study him. Mac says there's only one God, which was an interesting thing here. Now, I can see very closely that they're trying to make Mac be the Captain America equivalent, because Mac and Yo-Yo are still having issues. And it's mostly because Mac has this rigid outlook, like Captain America, where he is not going to abide by just killing and, like Yo-Yo did, just assassinating Ruby, and for the sake of safety and the sake of good and all that good stuff. So they question the alien. He dies from the odium injection that he gave himself, because that's apparently one of the creep. Well, no, what is he? He's a Remorak. So didn't the Kree use something like that before, though? Well, I think that's where it started. It probably started here, and it carried on a couple of generations, because isn't that what Cassius used? Anyway, Phil finds Hale in the brig. She laments Ruby's death, but Phil wants her in action, and she sort of sweet talks Talbot to survive, because, basically she was the one having him tortured. That don't last long, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Deke fixes the power in the lighthouse. And this was a really good scene now. Yo-Yo confronts Daisy, because Daisy took her mother's corpse that she exhumed, and Yo-Yo tries to, stop it and find out what she's up to. They fight. He breaks it up, and she tells Yo-Yo to give up the program, that they're going to save Coulson, regardless of what future Yo-Yo said. Talbot meets with this council, this 6 alien council, and he finally becomes Gravitron. He looks like Gravitron now with the hair and the costume. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool supervillain costume we got from him anyway, even if he's shouldn't be Talbot. He calls himself Earth's mightiest hero, which was also cute. I enjoyed that. He compares them to Democrats, which was also pretty funny. I don't know what to say about that. He kills Greenie, the green alien guy. I thought he was going to kill the black girl with the gold eyes, because she was the one suggesting that they strip him and sell him as a slave. So I would have killed her if I was him, I guess. This green guy really didn't do nothing to you. And apparently now he's got a seat at the table, because he made room for one of them. From one of them, I guess. Meanwhile, Deke meets up with Daisy, and he wants to ply his trough, so to speak. They got the lemon gag there, where she says some creep put a bunch of lemons in her bed, and that was kind of the romantic overture that he was trying to make. She talks about Lincoln and his death, and that pretty much shuts down any romantic vibe that was going on. He tells her about being Fitzsimmons' grandson, which I forgot she didn't know. She wasn't aware of that, but she kind of takes that, in stride. But he still hasn't broached his affection for her with her. I don't know. I'd like to see those crazy kids get together, but probably not going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if Deke, dies in this. But, it's one of those things. I think, Dragon Ball Z didn't Trunks stick around even though he was from the future. Could be something like that. I don't know. So then again, we get another confrontation here, this time with Fitz and Mac, about the state of affairs. And Mac says, again, he's following the good word. He wants to make death be a last resort. Fitz gets upset with Mac being sort of self-righteous, I guess, and Mac being somewhat rigid in his views and beliefs. Um, Mac says Fitz needs to look inside himself, see the kind of man he wants to be, because apparently, Fitz hasn't been acting all that all that swell in the past couple of episodes because of him. I still don't really get that when that happened. He mentally turned to the doctor again. I don't know. He turned and he turned back. I don't know. Gemma dissects the alien, and meanwhile, Daisy tells her about the plan to save Coulson by using Jia Ying's DNA, and Gemma's on board. Let's see. Meanwhile, here, everybody apart from Mac and Simmons and Yo-Yo get on this effort to go after Phil because he was carried away by Gravitron. Cassius' ancestor gets friendly with Glenn, and he tells him about Thanos. Yes, we got that Thanos name drop. If they start making characters disappear and disintegrate on this show, I'm going to mark out, seriously. But I don't know if they'll go that far. Maybe they will in the last episode. I don't know. So Glenn wants more gravitonium beneath the Earth to face Thanos because he believes he's the only one that can take on Thanos. Would he be a good fighter against Thanos? I don't know. Meanwhile, Phil is not on board with Cassius, knowing that this is the father of the two Cassai. How do you say Cassius plural? Cassius. I don't know. but he's not on board with this Cassius being in Gravitron's ear, so to speak. Gravitron sort of turns on a dime and wants Phil to kneel and uses his powers on him, and Phil Coulson kneels before Gravitron. That is something. That is scary. That is sad. Actually, Adrian Pastura could probably play a really good General Zod. He's got that sort of haughty demeanor when he wants it, and he's got the look. He'd be pretty cool. All right, so the Zephyr docks on top of the alien ship. It's cloaked, and Gravitron takes this as an insult for some reason. He thinks it's some kind of plan. I guess he's just paranoid. There's a plot against him or whatever. General Hale exerts some influence over him by doing the Winter Soldier on him. Your compliance is rewarded or whatever. And, of course, he's too powerful for that to work on him now, and so he crushes her like rolled up ball paper. Meanwhile, Daisy and May enter, and Daisy tries to quake him, but to no avail. He just swats her aside, and May surrenders. Meanwhile, the post-credit tag there, so to speak, is Cassius abducting Daisy. And this is kind of like Cassius wanted her because she was the destroyer of worlds. Now I guess this Cassius wants her because she's the destroyer of worlds. Is she going to be the destroyer of worlds? I don't know. It looks to me more like it's going to be Talbot. But we'll see what happens. If I remember correctly, and they stay very, very closely to the established, continuity, whatever there, didn't they show Daisy walking out on her own power and she went away, never to be seen again, and that's what preceded the destruction of the world or the cracking open of the world or whatever the heck she apparently does to it? I think so. So they're probably going to show that, and that's what's going to be the what precipitates whatever does happen that they have to stop. Because apparently they could probably stop whatever happens, but they have to make sure they, show what happened in the future and make sure that it happened, and then stop whatever Earth-ending saga it is. All right, so for this episode, I'm going to give this episode. See, I haven't given any episode the episode of the week yet. To be honest with you, I don't really know. They're all just pretty, like I said, on par. I think I'm going to give this one episode of the week again. I'm giving this one episode of the week. I'm going to give it 4.5 stars out of 5. That's 4.5 stars out of 5 for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. All right, so that about does it. That wraps it up for another week in comic book television. Thank you for joining me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What was your favorite episode of the week this week? Or, I guess, the week of, today's May 5th, so this whole past week, starting on, I don't know, I guess April 30th. But anyhow, leave your comments in the comments area below. Make sure you check out my comic book page, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon, the link in the description below. Make sure you check me out on Twitter for the poll of the week questions and all other good fun and stuff like that there. Until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.